Hello, people. Hello. Thank you for coming tonight. Several years ago, my wife, Charlotte, who has sustained me in incredible and wonderful ways for many, many years, was approaching her birthday time in November. Today is her actual birthday, the 22nd of November, which she shares with André Gide and I think Benjamin Britten and Charles de Gaulle. And so that brings her naturally to be a French translator. But I asked her what she wanted for her birthday, and she said, I'd like you to give a reading. Since then, for the past several years, I have been giving a reading on or near her birthday, and this is the one tonight. And I'm very grateful to all of you for coming, to allow yourselves to be part of the birthday present of Charlotte, and allow me to share with a community I love so dearly and for so long. It's been so nurturing to me, share my recent shenanigans with you. This has been a year in which I've published 4 books, or they have published 4 books, and it's been a year of a lot of writing and a lot of scheming. It's been a very good year in that sense. So what I'd like to do is to read a few pieces to start with from those books that have been published, just to give them their local baptism, and then read some recent work, and not to be too long about it. I'll start with this wonderful book, which is hard for you to see as other than a blue, distant object. It's a collection of photographs by Susan Quasha, unbelievably beautiful and subtle and mysterious photographs that haunted me from the first time I saw them because of their absolute resistance to subject matter. They were not pictures of, they were pictures from a world around her. So she was sharing her seeing with us. I was amazed by the pictures and have written from them. And this book was published by T-Space a few months ago, and it contains gorgeous images. This is to the picture called Flame, or that I call Flame, and it goes with this poem, or rather this poem came from it. It is real, that is, the grace of thingliness inhabits it. It makes sense from any vantage. It is the same sign, can't be interpreted. The final mystery is clarity, something right here, the unnameable, full of reminders of other names, lost loves, burnt down forests, ancient water on the moon, in the light of eclipse. It wants me to leap up to meet it by looking, confuses my grammar like an unexpected hand on the skin of your back. Who knows who touches me? We are far from the Iliad, where even the nights are bright and the watchfires still are blazing on the beach. If I just turn my head, the sea is made of wood, or the sea too is on fire. But that's how it seems to me. So this is about me, not it, you know? It sneers at me with the beautiful sneer, say, of self-indulgent Isabella d'Este, that pretty girl with the snake around her neck, all colors of the earth. And this is what the snake was thinking. She scratched the light to let the darkness in. When you climb the rock, you can't see the color of the rock, you almost are. The color of time from far away, sunset in the mind. So all of those pictures had wonderful magnetic powers in them to draw me, to draw this stuff. I mean, the poems are not about the pictures, but just what the pictures made happen. This is called The Road Goes Down, The Road Down Goes Up. Everything is going to the sky. That seems to be the secret. Heraclitus to Heidegger, they all seem to say so. There is a road that goes there, a line to follow. Trees and other sentinels assert the way. To say the way is to protect it. We go as far as we can. But it's who we are. We are the ones who go as far as we can. We follow any tree. A tree is what Dasein actually says or sings. Men argue about whether there's anything on the other side of the sky, some other sort of being or being. But we keep going. This picture grows lighter as you look at it. The dawn is coming. Make sure we get there in time. Or sunset. Only fools think there is a difference. It is the same light, constantly growing. Wherever you look, already the trees are all behind you. There's another book of like collaboration. I love collaborating. I've collaborated with a number of living artists and a number of dead poets and a number of dead musicians. They don't know about it, but the living ones do. This is another of the living, a painter named Natalie Provosti, who showed me paintings, ink paintings of hers that were very moving, and I began to write from them. They're produced by a just out book from Spuyten Duyvil called The Color Mill, and I'll read one poem from that. It goes with this picture, which you probably can't see at all from there, but it's called Chemic. I can't have everything, but I have everything. A schoolboy listening to Sibelius, an old man listening to Ornette, a girl eating peaches, peach gum on my fingers, all other tall other trees, hills of petaluma, chapped lips, tulip tree tossing in the wind. The wind. I summon you to bear unfeigned witness. God is what keeps waking up in you. A kind of rhyme. Woman on motorcycle, amarillo, yellow, east, against the course of sun, empire, mud puddle, glamorous sunlight poured over uneasy trees. All that agitation, they're hurrying me along. Say everything, get it all in place. The pillow fight in Canaan, how I sat once on the curbstone in Atlantis, while the soft cloth chariots rolled by and green things sang on rails. How sick I was. How libido is a mad jar sometimes can't unscrew. Mahler's China, blue rain in the prater. Love is something can't be made. Hymn to God in my sickness. I can take strength only from staying quietly, saying the names of things. Thinglish, my mother tongue, je vous salue. An opal crescent in the dark half-moon tide. The muskrats in our pond all gone, but the bears are back, and foxes many, and the queens of Egypt posed in drenched chlamyses to demonstrate the contours from which we come. The body is absolute geometry, wave break. In silver, almost city light, a corner is a precious thing. An alphabet of birds. You could spend all day writing down what they fly. Dress well and children, a kind of ball game. There are tea leaves in your hair. I wanted to be part of myself like a post office, part of the geography. Look for the Cataliva Bridge over the mild Delaware. The cathedral is coming to visit. Long grain rice spills out of a Latin's attaché case. Theft is the ecstasy of law. The cavern is empty. Art is fled. leave our heirs the cold stuffed crocodile. I took the mass of ordinary lead, PB, and set it on a porcelain saucer in my mind. Then in the hour when the crows fly up, concentrated my mild attention on its luster, dull, peaceful gray. As I was seeing, the lead was responding to being seen. Things do. So it wasn't long before it shouldered down and began shrinking, its mass moving lustful in upon itself. Watching made it go faster. The shrinking mass took on cubic form, denser. The plate cracked from the concentration. Such weight. The cube glowed now, turned red, then white, then red again, finally yellow, deep. It was small. You can do this too. Pure gold. Another book that came out this year was this wonderful cover picture of Carrie Harrison as Oedipus. Carrie played the role of Oedipus after Colonus in my play when it was done in New York a few years ago, directed by Crichton Atkinson, who has wonderfully consented to be here tonight and read to you, since it's it's in a woman's voice, the part of Clytemnestra in her last great speech. Let me say that the play is Orestes, which is the fifth play in that collection. And unlike most treatments of Orestes and his problems with his mother and his sister, my play, Orestes, isn't man enough to kill his mother. He goes to kill her, but instead sinks on his knees in front of her, grasps her around the waist, and buries his head in her bosom, in her belly. Electra comes up behind him and does the deed, stabs the mother, kills Clytemnestra. A little bit later in the play, not to give away too many secrets, Clytemnestra is alive again and stands up before her daughter, who now sinks to her knees in front of her. And Clytemnestra says,
umbilical cord. Okay. You stand here. Hold on. Hello, hello. 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay. I'm just going to go like this for a second. Okay. Clytemnestra is speaking to Electra. It is woman's work to rise against the state. When I killed the king, I was killing the power of the state over the individual. I was killing the rule of husband over wife, priest over worshiper, gods over mortals. This is woman's work. It is woman's work to destroy the state. Then when the king was dead and another fickless fellow, little more than a boy, came to animate my chilly bed, out of inadvertence I became the state. But I meant no power, wielded as little as I could, let things go along as they chose. Things can be trusted to go their own way. I let whatever wanted to grow in my garden and never cared what people think. I let the sun shine and the rain fall and let the roses shove out their thorns in peace. That is nature's way. That is woman's work. I let you live as you choose in rags and smelly clothes and sulking all day long and sleeping every night alone to play your silly part. A simple daddy's girl, struck down by the loss of his power, the only power that you knew. You had no power of your own yet. And then your leper brother came panting for revenge or God knows what from such feeble maleness. You sucked enough strength to rise up against me. I was the state. and you cut me down. That was woman's work. I let you do it. And you did well. You are my flesh, and you know deep inside you what I knew. Love men, but do not let them rule. A queen is the antidote for a king. Destroy the state and grow the person. All power to the individual. I let you kill the state and me. And by doing so, you set me free. And that was woman's work. Break all the rules and begin each day just you. Just you. And what you see and feel, all longing and no belonging. You and I are just women now, being with each other. And that too is women's work. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Chris. She was reading not from the book proper, but from what's it called, a broadside, Thomas Panitz, published a year or so ago. Isn't that right? Isn't that what that was? What am I doing now? Oh, send me strength.
Do you want me to clip it?
I want to clip it.
Give this to me. Here. Hold on, I'm going to go here.
And that too is woman's work. Seems. Thank you. The fourth book that came out, which I'll now read in its entirety, is a collection of essays. And I mention it because, well, it's exciting to have it, partly because it collects dozens and dozens of essays, reviews, articles, manifestos, and so on that I've written over the years. But in another way, it's exciting because it wasn't arranged by me. It was edited by Pierre Joris, who is an alumnus and a wonderful poet and a friend of many years, and Peter Kokelberg, who is a Flemish-speaking Belgian poet. They edited the book, and therefore it's something of a surprise to me, because it doesn't proceed chronologically. It's organized in an entirely fresh way, a way that kind of excites me. Of course, I'm not going to read an essay to you, except that they rightly understood that for me, the word essay meant any attempt to write about anything. For me, poetry and fiction is writing from, I've said this before earlier tonight, I hate repeating myself, but poetry is writing from something. You write from your love, you write from your God, you write from your fear, your desire, whatever it is. Whereas the essay traditionally is about something. You write an essay about a poem, or an essay about a painting, an essay about a political situation. And the aboutness distinguishes it. I've always been a little uneasy about that, and I don't know how quite to handle it. But for me, the about and the from are always changing places. So a lot of my essays look on the page more like poems, and of course a lot of my poems are as dull and prosaic as essays too, because, well, there are risks in every profession. I'll read you just a little bit of one essay, an essay which is called, from a series of what I thought were poems long ago, called Texts. This is text 16, Reading Heidegger. I and friends, George Quasher, Chuck Stein, and others, have been busy reading, this must be 30 years ago, busy reading a book by Heidegger called Was heißt denken, which is translated as What is Called Thinking. The German title is rich with ambiguity and even punning. The English title can't do that, but it gives some idea. what is called thinking, which is also in German, what does thinking summon, what does thinking cause to happen, what name should be called by thinking, etc. I'll just read a piece of this to give you a sense of the way in which the poem and the essay can, in some curious way, coalesce. The print is small, though. Warning. We are who we are by pointing in that direction. Fedeli d'amore, we turn towards what has turned away from us since the beginning. We are in love with that absence, ausencia, a courtly love. Man is the pointer. Midnight Easter, strong wind, squall, walked out on the porch, lured by what someone had said about how spooky it was out, hours back, and how I stepped out and found a big gibbous moon just rising through bony trees. Just after I'd said to myself how dark it was, 1,000 things moving in the night, rustle close and far. Is that the strangeness? Leaves turning in no wind? Then I turn and point myself. When I turn, where is the world? Where the loveliness of words, their business in society and their old homes? Across all too romantic oceans, yet I revisit still warmth of their focus to bring down the light world and the glad hand into the good word that we speak, that if we talk long enough, everything will get said. If we talk, that is, until the tape reaches the sun and, notified by its chromosphere, yields up its message once for all. Vadami, I am speaking, will be a little while yet. Have always been. Jivami, I live. Vadami, I speak. Chansami, I praise. Lesson 1 in being about to be always speaking. So, as you may have heard, if you know your Heidegger, that text is full of quotations from that essay, from beginning to end. So I was reading the Heidegger and writing myself and reading Heidegger and reading him into. So it's full of his texts and my text sequentially. Just to give you a sense of that. Mostly what I'd like to do this evening for the rest of our time is to read recent work. I like reading recent poems because I have to know them, I have to learn them. And you're what's the French name for the guinea pig? They have a nicer word for it. Which is really more like a capybara or something like that. But some little animal. A guinea pig has guinea in it, which is an unfortunate word in American. And it has pig in it, which is another unfortunate word. Because nobody wants to be a pig. Pigs, you know now. This is, so I'm reading, the rest of what I'll read comes from this past month, from November, the November poems. Being alone. Being by myself should be boring, but is not. Slender, shapely ideas pass, sauntering through. Sometimes say their names, tell where they've been, or where I am, or even why they come to me to be thought. Just now, with sparrows fluttering round them, green sea canyons stretching to horizons between their legs. An idea is a door. Being alone is opening it. So, this month, a number of elegies got written. November is, of course, the elegiac month. It begins with the Day of the Dead. Well, the day that used to be called the Day of the Dead, and then the Catholics turned it into the Day of the Saints. and the Day of the Dead got shunted to the next day, the Dia de los Muertos, on the 2nd of November. But on the 17th of November is the death of Osiris, which was the great death of the Mediterranean world, the archaic world, when the world mourned the loss of its fertile principle. With all that comes after. Anyway, so it's an elegiac month. So I wrote a series of elegies this month. I'll read a few to you. This is the first November elegy. Tall men tend to tell the truth. The soapy residue even good experiences tend to leave behind is that on the mind or some other plane, midway between what they call us and I call me, a level we dare not name, where whatever happens leaves its shadow subtly, barely noticeably, that colors, that drains color from, our feelings, like a young or unripe cataract in an old man's eye. 2, forgetting things is my business, or part of the process. Pound says this of the wind, part of this obligation to say, when sunlight catches on a long stray hair, we all are women to the wind, the vulture's bridegroom, the lighthouse far inland. I have to forget in order to remember, poignant answer to a mortal question. 3, who let the ghost in through the keyhole? Isn't that what iron keys are for, to keep them out, keep them from speaking their word through, the word no one wants to hear, the slimmest word? But here comes cloud, very loud, streaming from the northwest, simple form for once. I could draw it. I could pull it down and sleep on it tonight. Some shapes are safe in bed. It puzzles the animal of me, that rhinestone tiger with a wounded paw. Oh, leap your own fence, citizen. That's your only limit now, given the calculus of terror, the agency of age. 4, think of that girl in Dante, fair of face but foul behind, the opposite of nowadays, when handsome back and shoulders turn round to show faces of studied vapidity. Writing yields to ordinary knowing, ambulances arriving at the scene. Oh, sentimental mind and tree-shaped heart, my hero, wine, tooth, tree, form, fire, sex, sudden, wait, mine, then we get where we need to be. Get there by wanting alone. Magic spell of listening between anything ever spoken. There. But where did the saying start? Something to do with horses, chariots, little books I forget. For whom am I grieving? Here is a poem that tells who I'm grieving for, a wonderful Tunisian poet novelist named Abdel Wahab Medeb, who passed away a few weeks ago. This is called Plan, the old Mediterranean word for lament. Medeb is a wonderful prose poet, writer of novels. Charlotte translated some of his works into English some years ago. In the stillness of his embedded craft, something always left between the glittering tiles, the shadow of Byzantium before the terrible differences. Medeb is dead, the last Mediterranean, the last who knew white desert with kind hands, the peace of God that only men disturb, calm Tiamat coiled behind heaven. To mourn a decent man is almost blasphemy, his life a precept to be followed, not discussed. And yet, many grains of sand in the desert of the mind, grit in my teeth, women waving white sheets from their balconies. So here's the 3rd November elegy. I hope. Too many things. the roads, the answers. Let it decide for us, only by ear. You think he's speaking, but I know the rain. Last night it took all the leaves off the trees and laid them on the ground so gently I heard nothing. Not even the mice around the altar know more about the saints. There is a tutelary of these matters too long for any worship. Wait, I took a wrong turn. Thought about something instead of being it. Is there room for me still in this equation? She changed the letters of her name, became a god. Love the living, mechanics on parade, their tools gleam with moon grease. O spectre night, O cause of mourning. Again, but no guitar. I made fun of everything, hoping to find me where laughter intersects the blue silences. Last refuge of scholars, writing texts easier than reading them. Hard to reach the blood, hard to teach the blood to read. Yes, I know this is not a general problem. Count the knots on a pine wood plank. Watch the moon rise through your fingers. Are we nearer to believer? Believe her. Keep away from human men. The water lilies block the moon's reflection. The cold light holds my hands. Warm them. Save me. If one substance induces the placebo effect, while another substance does not, it is no longer correct to speak of a placebo effect. Even science should try to be rational sometimes. Offend as few as you can. Everyone you denigrate is part of you. How can we listen to such music? Am I not an asphalt road? She dreamt a pirate ship crossing the sky, came down the hills above Trent. How long it takes to get here. Mercyland by frozen river. It's too hot for weather. Let's call it literature. Leave it on the shelves. The dust will cure it, and the bedrooms smell like olive groves. Is that enough to answer me? Was I not a road into the past? Was I not paved with innocent travelers who sought my shrine above the western sea? But I misstate my qualities. The CV of a saint is full of holes. His resume absurd, his song is silence. I have characteristics, but I have no self. All my self went into what I said. Weren't you even listening? Here's a hard one, but I want to read it to see whether it works at all. Tell me tomorrow morning whether it works. It takes a while to think about things. You know. It's called possum, the animal. Opossum is the correct word, but nobody ever says that. Oh, look, an opossum. No, we don't say that. Like an Irish animal, opossum. Yeah. Seamus opossum. Exemplary energies of doing nothing. As the animal lifted one trotter towards, it had to be the moon at that time of night, and nothing but forest all around. And I thought, here is creaturely intelligence, on a par with my own, paw uplifted, hand waving at the mistress of mysterious light. How dare the beast and man presume? So much for thinking. Into the underbrush my animal skedaddled, and I thought of all the sweet men of my father's generation who talked so nicely, if bewilderingly, to me as a child about Alaska and railroads and battlefields and Chinamen, they called them, though I thought of those people as ancient sages disguised for odd, benevolent purposes as laundrymen and waiters. Uncle Joe went fishing for fluke. Uncle George had lost some toes to frostbite in the Rockies or the Arctic. I'm still confused by everything. You tell me. Uncle Barney was a Rosicrucian. Nothing safe, nowhere to turn from the burden of knowing things, but not enough of them, and all in what must be the wrong order, make no sense. I was happiest in church where no one, least of all a child, has to answer back. Just sit there and listen to the mysteries pass till I might finally be ready for the weather. Tribunal. I want to dedicate these to those poor rabbis who were massacred this past week in Jerusalem, one of whom a rabbi from Boston and head of his yeshiva. This is not about them, but it's so close to their preoccupations. It's called Tribunal. In the mysterious academy, the fate of no one is decided. Old men with long beards, weird hats, make love to a complex idea, turning it round and round in their fingers, nails cut to the quick for ritual purity. When I say fingers, I mean the mind. To the quick of the mind, the idea reaches. They hold their breaths, breathe out all together, a sigh like the first word of something, or the wind blowing through an empty hall, all that stone sounding, or an animal outside the door. This is how they study. This is research, using arteries and lungs to examine, parsing by breathing, decoding the numberless mathematics of the law. This is the 5th November elegy. That's the last one written. I didn't know he knew the man I'd never know. Friends have such short shelf lives. Sea level rising, Osiris died today. The sand is rising too. Russian words float by on streams of mind, just out of reach. What was your father's original name? We all change our religion here, fact. In the new life, unless you work hard in your last, you'll always get born into a different faith, or none, fact. Ovid's Metamorphoses are a thinly veiled chronicle of reincarnations, how they are formed, how karma shapes your inclinations, and your inclination shapes the one you will be, your mind stream in the world to come, fact. Ha'olam ha'aba, his name is Samuel. What can I tell you? We belong to our names. Plato told the matter lucidly. In his account that closes the Politeia, we call it the Republic, he tells of the Pamphylian, mortally wounded on the battlefield, who experiences death and the judgment chambers of the afterlife, then comes back to life, knowing something of what befalls the dead. How a man's dominant impulse, his lust, his prunikos, determines the form he takes in his next life. So that Odysseus, who famously said he was no man, and whose dominant urge was curiosity, is reborn as a monkey. They get in everywhere and grasp everything. We belong to names. Samuel tried to break free. Jamais. Or as we said in Italy, fat chance when I was young. And I still am, at least compared to pyramids, or that mockingbird by the quarry who knew the song of every ever sung. You heard him at the monastery, resting between prayers, between lives, a little gray thing, speaking every language to a tree. The patience of wood. How many songs and loves of owls heard, and nicely stored, recorded in the grooves below the bark. Those rings, they say, mean years, but I know better. We can hear them. Play it on your gramophone, a disc, a slice of tree, and hear the mockingbird again, and all he mocks. And then the words, even the whispers, Adam's excuses muttered to his poor wife. Wood heard them all, heard her take the blame. Fact. So there is no original language, or not yet. This is an elegy for all the music we neglect to hear, the actual tones stored in every tree. Or in Hanover once, on a mile-long tree-neat avenue of park, I heard Handel's anthem. He was still Handel then, celebrating the Elector, his patron, the king who founded the school I went to. I greeted his statue in the park, heard trumpet, heard bassoon and human voices on that empty summer esplanade. The dead never stopped talking. Fact. Who is that now, speaking in your throat? And what was your mother's maiden name? This week, Tamas Panitz posted a picture of a car parked outside a diner, a solitary old car in front of a dreary-looking diner. Maybe it isn't dreary, but it looked that way. And so this is the car from Tamas. There is an empty car parked in front of every diner in America. It is the same car. It is 27 years old and beige. The light doesn't show its license plate ever. It is locked, but if you look through the untinted glass, you'll see 3 empty candy wrappers on the passenger seat floor. On the driver's side, a paper coffee cup is balanced, precarious on the dashboard. Put your ear to the window, hear the radio sounding softly, aglow from its little dial, strange, slow music and slow words you don't understand. It is the same car, in front of every diner, all the time, in every city, on the edge of town, edge of the gravel, always empty. You try again to listen to that music inside. You conclude the radio is tuned to a station in some other condition, like language or heaven, a noise behind the sky. And you can hear it only here, everywhere. Whether the diner is open or closed, the car's still there, humming in the empty lot. You rest the palms of your hands firmly on the hood, feel the honest cold metal faintly yielding to your weight. You understand nothing, but you know this is where you have to be. So I'd like to end this reading with my usual superstition known to some of you, that every reading has to end with whatever the most recent poem is, good, bad, or indifferent, or bad, worse, or indifferent, however that might be. And this is a poem I wrote this morning for Charlotte, who got another birthday present yesterday when she learned that her translation of Jonathan Littell's The Syrian Notebooks has just been awarded the PEN Translation Prize in the UK, which is wonderful news and a wonderful distinction. But this is the best I could do. She had sent me some beautiful YouTube snippets of Irish musicians playing on what the English used to call union pipes, which the Irish call Ilion pipes. That's a bagpipe that you don't blow into. It's all operated by the elbow pumping onto an airbag, which produces the air that's played down here while a drone is going up there. Remarkable. So she sent me these of the great Seamus Ennis and other great players of that instrument. So this is the last poem for Charlotte, only appropriate on her birthday celebration. A tune on the Ilion pipes to say I love you, this can't be. For my fingers don't go fast, my mind slow as midnight meadows, just wants to turn to you and make the sound of pipers from a land below our guesses. to tell you the lake you are, the lucid, the continuous, the far. Water is intimate distance, and by you I am sustained. This is thank you for what only love knows how to specify. You find me in the dark and lead me home. Thank you for coming tonight.